Shalom, Yisrael. Y'all know these engineers, it's not just back there pushing buttons. I really thank you, Chris, helping the professionalism of this broadcast. This is Yonathan that we here, y'all for Christians on what they call the 24th of April, 2022. That brother's deep. Marley is deep, and the words, listen to the words of that song, and listen to the whole thing. We're going to pick it up where he left off, and it is appropriate here. This is Yonathan Dawid. Today's broadcast really is the essence of the whole purpose of the life of Yahweh for Christians. And it's going to cut you a little bit, it's going to hurt a little bit today, but as Bob Marley said, I'm saying he's singing that to Rachel, who was weeping for her children. Rachel weeping for her children. I'm saying that Bob Marley is singing that to her. And then next week, hopefully I can find a song I'm looking for next week, is going to heal you. So you get cut up today, but you be healed next week, Yahweh willing. This is called Ha-Chawa Harbit. Ha-Chawa Harbit. This is the fourth beast. Like I said, this is the essence, the life of Yahweh for Christians. Now, like I said, there's nothing more important to talk about. Yes, I watched the NBA playoffs, and COVID is still on the talking about, and they had the war, Russia, and all that stuff. There's always something going on at the time, but there's nothing more important to talk about than what we're talking about now. You know, the next Jubilee, like I said, is September the 25th. That's the next Jubilee. And that's the time of freedom and release. So this whole thing gonna be over in a few months. What else is there to talk about? You know, there's nothing else to talk about more important than where you're gonna be when this thing finally ends. So there, I do press on you to have a sense of urgency, just like we did in the first century during the time of they call the Acts. Now, I love my Christian brothers. I don't know what you may think when you see me out here spitting fire, but I love us because that's where I came from. And you have a monotheistic doctrine, and that's what it's supposed to be, but it's just misdirected. The monotheistic doctrine is misdirected. Let's open up with John 5:42 and 43. To tell you what I'm talking about here. John 5:42 and 43. And it reads, "But I know you, that you do not have the love of Yahweh in you. I have come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. If another comes in his own name, him you will receive." That's what Yahweh Shua is saying to the leaders of the house of Yisrael. Psalm 75, he's saying, you know, I'm coming in my Father's name. His Father's name is Yahweh, and his Son's name is Yahweh Shua. Psalm 75, and he said, y'all don't even want to take me. But if somebody came in another name, y'all take him. LGJC. Psalm 75, verses 1, 9, and 10. And it reads, "We give Torah to you, O Yahweh, we give Torah, because your wondrous works declare that your name is near." Verse 9 and 10. "But I will declare forever. I will sing praises to the mighty one of Jacob. All the horns of the wicked I will also cut off, but the horns of the Sadiq will be exalted." And I read that because wondrous things are going on now. This is an exciting time to live in. It's fearful for those of Esau, but it's exciting for us. And that means that Yahweh's name is near, the one you're not calling on now. And this beast has horns. Yahweh said he's going to cut them off, but the horns of the righteous will be exalted. Isaiah 52, 1 through 8, and then verse 10. Isaiah 52, 1 through 8, and then verse 10. This is Ha-Chawa Harbit. Ha-Chawa Harbit, the fourth beast. "Awake, awake, put on the strength of Zion. Put on your beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the Kodesh city. For the uncircumcised and the unclean will no longer come to you. Shake yourself from the dust. Arise, sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose yourself from the bonds of your neck, O captive daughter of Zion. For thus says Yahweh, you have sold yourselves for nothing, and you will be redeemed without money. For thus says the sovereign Yahweh, my people went down first into Mizraim to live there. Then the Assyrian oppressed them without a cause. Now, therefore, what have I here, says Yahweh? My people are taken away for nothing? Those who rule over them make them wail, says Yahweh, and my name is blasphemed continually every day. Therefore, that means for this cause, my people will know my name. Therefore, that means for this cause, they will know in that day that I am he who speaks. Look, it is I. How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of him who brings the Besorah, you call that the gospel, who proclaims peace, who brings glad tidings of good things, who proclaims salvation, who says to Zion, your mighty one reigns. Your watchmen will lift up their voices. With their voices they will sing together, because they will see eye to eye when Yahweh brings back Zion. And now I'm going to go all the way down to verse 10. Yahweh has made bare his holy arm, his Kodesh arm, in the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth will see the salvation of the mighty one. Hasatan hated Yeshua so much he had the man sawn in half. And while he was sawing him in half, he was still testifying. Yahweh says, awake and arise, talking to us in these last days. He's saying, why? Because our salvation is coming. Yahweh is going to expose his arm. His arm is Yahweh. His right arm, that's the knockout one. That's the one you knock him out with. He's been jabbing him all for these last 2,000 years. He's getting ready to knock him out. And he says, therefore, my people, you say you his people. He said, therefore, you will know my name. That means right now you don't know it. He said, in that day you're going to know it. That means right now you don't. Right now you're calling on another name, what his son said in Matthew 5, 24 and 23 and 24. That's why I follow up with this scripture. Because he's saying, you're calling me by another name. I also showed you how he said that his name is near. This is the time. We need to be pressed right now. And he says, oh, how beautiful are the feet of my son who's bringing the Besorah message. What you call the gospel is coming. It's right here. Do you see where I'm laying down here? We are monotheistic peoples who are misapplying our love to the wrong name. Ezekiel 36:22. Ezekiel 36:22. And it reads, therefore say the house of Israel, thus says the sovereign Yahweh, I do not do this for your sake, O house of Israel, but for my Kodesh name's sake, which you have profaned among the nations wherever you went. Everywhere where we are, Yahweh is saying that we profane his name. We're in there paying tithes and crying and singing to the wrong name. And he's saying we're profaning, so he's going to clean it up, not for us, because of us. He's doing this for himself. He's doing it for himself. When is this profanity going to end? When is it going to end? When are we going to wake up? When are we going to stop calling him by his enemy's name? Daniel 12:4. Daniel 12:4. And I've read this many times for you before because it can be sad. But like Bob Marley said, woman, and that the woman is the nation. Don't cry. But you, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many will run to and fro, and knowledge will increase. The knowledge is the knowledge of Yahweh Shua. This book was sealed up until these days. Like I said, y'all woke up in around 2010 when you got your smartphones. You went around 40 plus years ago when you had to go to a library to learn something, where the encyclopedias, that was your basically where you can get general knowledge, and you just go to the encyclopedia and look stuff up. That's what I had back then. But you had to read actual books. You had to interview people. You had to fly and go places. You can't stay in Baltimore and in your mother's basement running your mouth like you know something. So we have been awakened, and I tell you, the reason why I use that date 2010, and some of you may have gone back as far as 2000, but for the most part, none of your sages, quote unquote sages, go back past 2010. You can find that prophecy in Leviticus 26, and again in Ezekiel 4, 1 through 6. Isaiah 48, 9 through 11. Isaiah 48, 9 through 11. And it reads, Isaiah 48, 9. For my name's sake, I will defer my anger, and for my praise, I will restrain it from you. Talking about his anger from you, so that I do not cut you off. Look, I have refined you, not as silver. I have retested you in the furnace of affliction. So Yahweh is testing us and refining us. For my own sake, I will do it. For why should my name be profaned? And I will not give my glory to another. Once again, Yahweh said, I'm doing this for my name's sake. Because you're profaning it. And you're giving my glory to somebody else. So yes, kudos to our Christian brothers and our Catholic brothers. Kudos to you for your monotheism. But he's saying you're misappropriating it to someone else. You're giving his glory to someone else. This is what he is saying. Fortunately for us, that we wrote in Psalm 138 verse 2, that Yahweh is honoring his word even above his name. The word comes even above his name. So we out there in the community, and the good thing is you're waking up. You call them on Yahara Shalah and all those other kind of things that are not. You haven't even learned jack about Hebrew, and you're thinking you can translate Yod Ha Wim Shem Wa'ayim, and you're not translating it correctly, transliterating it correctly, I should say. But still is getting out there, and we're waking up, we're being aroused up, and people are going out, they're changing their lives, they're eating better, they're talking better, and they're doing better. We're getting there. Nevertheless, Yahweh Shua says, when he comes, will he find any faithfulness on the earth? Why? Because the key is, like I said from the beginning, Genesis 3:15, seed versus seed, no mixing. Yahweh, when he created everything, he said he made everything with its seed after its kind. That means everything was supposed to have seed. Everything living has seed, and it has its generations within it to reproduce itself from its kind, not mixing. And that's why he meant for one man, one woman. And what happened with the first, well, let me say not the first, but the last destruction of the whole earth with the flood? Everything mixed, drowned. All those mixed with the fallen angels into mankind, outside the ark, drowned. What's going to happen next time? Everything not Kodesh, this time is going to burn. So everything that was mixed drowned. Then we got out of the flood. Then the waters receded. We have Shem, Ham, and Yafet. And what was the first edict given to them? Don't mix. He told them where to go on the earth and not to mix. But what did we do once again? Everybody stayed right around Mount Arafat. Everybody stayed right around that general location. Yafet did move away some, but Ham basically stayed right there with us. And to this day, you thinking everybody black is your brother. Most of the people you're seeing, most of the things, worst things that ever happened to me in my life, my family came from so-called black brothers. Hamites are not Shemites. It's the difference between Ham and Shem. Just because you got that melanin don't mean you're brethren. Ham and Shem are different. That's where y'all getting confused. And the Erev Rav love your confusion, because he has us fighting against each other and trying to force feed, connecting people together who should be together. So Hasatan, since he knows that his seed is going to be crushed by the seed of the woman, his first job is to get us mixed. That's what he tries to do. And he did that with Babylon, who took us over first, then Assyria, you had Medo-Persia, then you had Greece, you had Rome. It continued on. Every time we got dominated and destroyed from our disobedience, he had his seed mixed with our seed, knowing that the covenant is not to be mixed. We weren't even supposed to mix when we farmed our land. We were not supposed to mix our seeds. We weren't even supposed to mix the animals who were supposed to pull the plow. You had to have the same kind of animal pulling the plow. We weren't even supposed to mix our clothing. You're supposed to have all wool, all cotton, all flax, all whatever. Not even supposed to mix. Yahweh takes this thing seriously. Not supposed to mix peoples. You're supposed to be distinct. He said we are a set apart peoples. So obviously Hasatan is first going to attack that. Isaiah 51, 9 through 11. No mixing. I want you to get this key, how this thread here, because we're talking about this beast. We're talking about this beast. We're going to identify the beast and identify how this beast became to be a Ha-Hawa. Isaiah 51, 9 through 11, and it reads, "Awake, awake, put on the strength of the arm of Yahweh." That's right, I'm sorry, I just read that. But, nope, I'm going to read it. This is a little bit different. "Awake as in the ancient days, in the generations of old. Are you not the arm that cut Rahab apart and wounded the serpent? Are you not the one who dried up the sea, the waters of the great deep, that made the depths of the sea a road for the redeemed to cross over? So the ransomed of Yahweh will return and come to Zion with singing, with everlasting joy on their heads. They will obtain joy and gladness, sorrow and sighing will flee away." Now, this is a scripture that cannot be fully appreciated in the language of slavery of King James. You're going to look at some key words here in Ibarit. But this thing about the deep, remember I talked about how brothers ain't too much about this water thing. You don't see us getting a whole lot of gold medals swimming and doing stuff. You don't see a whole lot of that. So because we have a history of bad things coming to us from the waters. From the waters. Remember I told you about the movie Apocalypto. Their world ended once those conquistadors landed on those shores. They didn't know it. It took another 100 years or so, but it ended. So this is the same thing. The devil's seed comes from the water. When the world, remember, when you read in Genesis 1:1, I keep telling you, that's not the creation of the world. That's a recreation of a destroyed world. So then Yahweh brings the dry land out of the water. Then what's in all that water? Those are the demons that was thrown down and cast down to earth and destroyed the whole world. The demons come from the water. Man comes from the land. This is why they taught you about, what do they call it when monkey the ape? Evolution, theory of evolution. Then they say we came from the water to the land. Well, you know what? That's what mankind did come from. But man came from the land. Mankind did evolve from the water. It's the truth. It's the truth. They just misappropriated to you, but it's not you. It's the double seed. And he's always tried to mix mankind with man, and that's where you get to the feet of iron and clay. But you know what? Yahweh laughs. It's always been his plan because he is the one that brought us through the Sea of Reeds, and we could not withstand the onslaught of the wicked one. You see how we got railroaded time after time after time after again. This little strip of land the size of New Jersey was not going to be able to defend itself. And actually, we didn't even take all the land we were supposed to take. We could not expand because the demon seed was already overwhelming out there. The only way Yahweh could really get us to overcome and conquer the world was to be out there in the world. So he allowed for this mixing because Yahweh's eye is always on the seed. And he is the one that brought us through the Sea of Reeds. If you read this in Hebrew, you can see it more, that Yahweh went into the cave of the wicked one and came out victorious. Didn't Yahweh sure not lay down his life and went down to Sheol and came back up? He went down to the doors of perdition the record tells us. But he did not cross into perdition and went back up. They could not hold him. Death could not hold him. Death, Hades, and the grave could not hold him because Yahweh Shua indeed was innocent. He went down to death. He became death to conquer death. And Yahweh is going to allow this mixing to conquer the mixer. No one teaches like Yahweh. No one teaches like Yahweh. He says in Jeremiah 30:11, Ezekiel 6:8, Ezekiel 11:17, and in many scriptures, how he permitted this mixing. He allowed it to happen. He's the one that scattered us because he's the only one that can regather us. So all this beating in your chest, talking about you, Judah, and all this other kind of stuff y'all saying out of your mouth, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm talking about a nation. You ain't no nation. You cannot be a nation unless you run stuff besides your mouth. You cannot be paying tax to somebody else and saying you're a nation. Yahweh Shua said in Matthew 14:27, he said, all of you will be made to stumble because of me this night, because it is written, I will strike the shepherd and the sheep will be scattered. And that's what happened. All of those 11 disciples scattered once the shepherd got taken. And that's what happened to us in 70 AD. We were scattered throughout, well, at that time, not throughout the world. We went north, we went a little bit east, and then we got persecuted there. Then we went back down to the west coast of Africa. And then from there, that's when we got sent abroad. We're going to talk about this. This is Yehonathan Dawid here, 1590, WFBR. Ha-Kawut Harbit, the fourth beast. How did this happen? Who are these people? Waters is the key. Waters is danger, chaos, the damned, even the law. That y'all talking about the Torah movement, y'all coming back and all this kind of stuff, and we're going to Torah living. Even the law, which is Moses, Moses is the law, came out of the water, came out of chaos, came out of darkness. So everything goes full circle, like Yahweh said in Isaiah 46:10. I declare the end from the beginning. In the end, is the law is what's going to save you? Is it the law? Remember, you got the law out of the water. Moshe was drawn out of the water. I'm saying deep stuff here. The area of Rav know what I'm talking about. Yahweh, please wake up the people. Please, Yahweh, your hand be on me, your anointing be on me to teach this word as you have given it to me. Nebuchadnezzar's image, it parallels the Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol is the chief priest. When you say mirror, mirror on the wall, you're looking at what you want to see. And Nebuchadnezzar saw what he wanted to see, so be it. But it means jack to you and me unless it's the priest. You are a royal priesthood, a chosen nation. Then we have to make sure what is the meaning to us. That head of gold is the Lion of Judah. Judah is the king. The legal covenant of kingship, that right goes through Judah. So Nebuchadnezzar's head of gold, that is Judah. You know, y'all out there buying all those t-shirts and buying all those baseball hats and beating your chest and wearing your seats and all that stuff with Judah on it. And y'all, and you're not. So, but for the priest, that's the turban. That's the turban. You know, the priest had the gold band across his head saying Kodesh to Yahweh. The Mitznafet. The Mitznafet. That's the turban. The Mitznafet is what the chief priest wore on his head and had a gold band saying Kodesh to Yahweh. Then you had the chest of silver. That's the bear. The bear raised on two sides. That's the two kingdoms, Jeroboam and Rehoboam. Remember, we had two kingdoms. By that time, we still was technically pure because we had not been invaded. We had not been taken over. So you had two nations, but still pure. So that's the chest of silver, and that's the priestly sash, the avnet. The avnet, that's the pure man. If you, my second book, the chapter Color of Man. Okay? And it talks about how Adam and the Hawa was silver. Yahweh polished them to polished silver. So that's the two kingdoms. That's the chest of silver. Then you have the girdle of bronze. That's the leopard. That's the breastplate of the chief priest. And that's mixed Yisrael, because by this time we were mixed. Remember that Josiah is the one that tried to get us back on point, tried to unify the north and the south, which he did have marginal success. But you know the old saying, can a leopard change his spots? The leopard cannot change his spots. So even though Josiah's tried to purify us, we still are a spotty beast, but not a complete beast, because the lion and the bear and the leopard are real animals. But this fourth beast is the thighs of iron. This beast is unrecognizable. There's no such thing as an animal like this. The other ones were real animals, but this one is a beast. What made this thing so unrecognizable, such a monstrous creature? He is unrecognizable, so much so that there's no name to put on him. Just call him a beast. He's a hakawa, a hakawa. He's just a beast. He does not a recognizable animal like the others were. Now, what part of Nebuchadnezzar's dream was this? This is the undergarments. This is the thighs of iron that crushed everything. And it's the machinations of this that man is getting us to and dividing ourselves over color is what we're not supposed to go through. This is about ideology, faith, and religion. Now, the undergarments of the priest went from the waist down to the knees. So I'm proposed that the thighs of iron was the undergarments of the priests. And Yahweh made the priests wear undergarments because he said, I don't want to see all that. While you walking up and down on and giving the sacrifices, I'm holy, I'm Kodesh, and I don't need to look up there and see that. So he made the priests wear what's called Mishknaseyim. I probably didn't say that right, but they are trousers, long trousers that go from the waist to the knees, just like the thighs of iron. Now, why iron? 2 legs. One leg is the iron of Catholicism, the other leg is the iron of Christianity. And they reigned harshly and brutally. Now, I'm going to go back to that, but remember, after that, you get the feet that are mixed. Now, I think this is akin to the priest who had the bottom of his robe, he had on his fringes, he had pomegranates. You know, the pomegranates is a Hebrew symbolism for righteousness. And what we are today? And now self-righteousness. We know the number 613 represents righteousness and represents the pomegranates. How many misvotes are there in the commandments? 613. So here we go today with our Hebrew Israelite community bickering, fighting, arguing over the 613. And it hurts my heart. You know, one of the things that I was advised by one of my Hebrew brothers was to join in with some of these Hebrew groups to try to get up some more viewership and all that. And I did tick up a few. But it reminded me why I didn't do it in the first place. Not that I didn't know it. I didn't do it because of what immediately happened. Hebrews arguing and cursing one another. Spewing things out of mouth they do not know. One brother I was trying to, he asked, hey, I woke up and my wife won't follow along. What do I do? And you cannot believe how brother was saying, divorce her. That's the law. She don't want to follow the divorce. What? So he just wakes up. He decides to wake up and realize he's a Hebrew. His wife, she hasn't woke up yet. Oh, go and divorce her. That's what you do? So what about the day before when he was asleep? Should Yahweh divorce him? You see the foolishness out there? And when I implored this brother, I said, listen, you know nothing about the narrative. All you know is this man says he woke up and his wife won't follow along. You tell him to cut the covenant? Where's the scripture? Oh, you're going to quote that he says, you're going to misquote a scripture about divorce? Like you keeping the other 612 commandments. Which I guarantee you right now, you have clothing that has mixed fibers in it. I guarantee, first of all, you speak in English. Shut up. Shut up. You're speaking a language of slavery, trying to tell somebody to divorce his wife. I haven't heard a bigger fool this year. I had to cut him off. There's so much folly out there. So much it is foolishness out there. You wake up and then you think now you know everything. Oh, the stupidity. The stupidity I'm hearing out there. No discernment. I have people calling me all kinds of names and calling me all kinds. Yeah, you Christians don't know nothing. First, it shows you how stupid you are and you know nothing. Because I'm not even a Christian. But if you had discernment, you would have seen that. You would have discerned that. You would have discerned it. Please, if you learn something, then grow on it. Let this grow roots and get deep and then grow shoots and be fruitful. Stop with this. How can another man tell a man to divorce his wife because he just now woke up? So again, we are in a sad state of iron and clay. You got a few brothers and sisters out there who are strong, who are Torah lovers and not haters and not backbiters and not stabbing and fighting each other. You don't need a white man to fight you. You're destroying your own self. How do you think we got over here? Listen, in case you didn't know, you can hate the white man all you want. He did not get on some ship, sail on down the west coast of Africa, got off his ship, got on the beaches, and knocked a bunch of niggas out of their head and brought them into the ship. That's not what happened. If you didn't co-op with him and fight each other and hand them over to him, he wouldn't have gotten them. He could not come into the so-called Africa and take nobody. When he came over here to America, that we had to feed them and nurture them and keep them alive. They got off those beaches starved. We took care of them. It did not happen. Hamites sold out Shemites. Your so-called brothers. But you want to hate the white man and hate the Jew man. You need to look in the mirror and see who you need to be hating. Hate. Learn. And stop fighting one another. Stop damning one another. Stop dividing. Learn this thing and have patience with one another. Wait till you hear next week's lesson. It is so touching. This one's going to cut you up because you're out here loud and wrong. You're loud and wrong. And you're beastly. Daniel's now for the meat. Daniel 7, 7 and 8. Daniel 7, 7 and 8. You wonder how you got where you are now reading the KJV. Calling the creator Lord, but the one he created, which is James, you call him king. You wouldn't have gone into his courts and called James Lord. He would have took your head off. But the one who created your tongue, you won't go and call him Lord. And call yourself a Hebrew Israelite. Shut up! Daniel 7, 7 and 8. And it reads, after this I saw in the night visions, and look, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, exceedingly strong. It had huge iron teeth, just like the iron legs. It was devouring, breaking in pieces, and trampling the residue, even the residue, with its feet. It was different from all the other beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. This one has no name. The other ones at least had a name: lion, bear, leopard. They're real animals. This one's not a real animal. I was considering the horns, and there was another horn, a little horn, coming up among them, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked out by the roots. And there in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking pompous words. Once again, you have, just like in the lion who rose up like a man, the bear who rose up like a man, here you have this horn talking like a man. That's a key vein I'm trying to get you to understand. I want you to understand that. I'm saying that for a reason. So we have here a creature that I've showed you how already the other creatures were all Hebrews. The same with this one, but worse than all of the others. The worst of all Hebrews. This is the end of time that the Malach, the angel you call him, told him. This is the end time. That means this is today. Do not look at anybody. Do not call these Jews. They're not Jews. Do not call it the white man. It's not the white man. Call it the one you see in the mirror. It's the melon-rich Hebrew. The melon-rich Hebrew is the beast. How did it get there? The teeth of iron that crushed and slashed everything. This is the Catholic and Christian faith. The 2 iron legs, the iron teeth, and not only does it destroy, it sampled even the residue, the remnant. It hates to the end. It hates to the core. It hates to the core. And even to this day, you're out here hating to your core. The Dark Ages. Now, I'm just telling you, that's what the so-called white man called it, the Dark Ages. You learned that in school. from 676 AD to 1000 AD. Now, this is the time darkness is no light, right? That's when there's no knowledge. In the beginning, Yahweh says, let there be light. Let there be the knowledge of Yahweh. That means before the knowledge of Yahweh, there was no knowledge. That means there was darkness. There was no knowledge of him. That's what you have right here during this time. Remember, the Vulgate, written in Latin, 1,500 years, if you wanted to read anything that Yahweh had to say, you had to read it in Latin. And guess what? Less than 1% of the people could read Latin. And even of the people who could read, less than 1%, and I gave in my first book the whole statistics on this, could even read. People weren't literate. And then he hid it in Latin. For 1,500 years, all you had was the Vulgate. Written by who? Catholics. Leg 1 of iron. Half the teeth of iron of the beast. That's where you came from. The Hebrew face was so disfigured more than any man that it was unrecognizable. It became totally unrecognizable. Yahweh Shua says in Psalm 22 that he was marred more than his visage. That means his face was marred more than any man. Yahweh Shua became totally unrecognizable. Even his mother Miriam right there, look at him, didn't recognize her own son. That's how beat up and bad and bruised he was. The same thing happened to his people that he allowed to happen. He allows to be scattered. Wait till you get next week's lesson. This is hurtful. Yahweh in his heart hurt. He got hurt. He allowed us to be scattered, and our visage has been marred more than any other peoples on the earth. Everybody else can say where they came from. They can get a globe or a map and get a stick pin with a red dot on it and poke it in where they came from. Where does the black man come from? Is there somewhere on the map? Maybe I didn't see it where it says black. But the Italian American knows where he came from. The German American, the Polish American. Everybody knows where they came from. The Russian American. Everybody has a place on the map they can put a red dot on except you. And they're going to treat their whole continent, so-called Africa, like it's a one group. That's 70 different nations there. And Saudi Arabia is part of Africa too. They treat it monolithically like that's one place. And it's not called black anyway. So where are you from? We have been our history has totally been eviscerated and trampled to the point of unrecognition. If the first century fathers were here today, they would not recognize the faith. It is unrecognizable. It is a monstrous, beastly monster. They've eviscerated the looks of us. They have taken away the language. You don't have your land. You don't have your leaders. You don't have nobody to fight for you. You can't even manufacture a bullet. Where's the black companies that make weapons? Where's your artillery? Can you go start a war and fight anybody? Stop it. We need to have our tails be most humble and meek and teshuva. Repent, because that's how we got where we are. That's why I'm speaking English now, from not repenting. And we got scattered from rejecting Yahweh Shua. We rejected him, so then we got rejected. The veil was rent, and we still stuck to trying to keep the 613 for our righteousness. So 70 years later, the temple was burned down, and we were scattered abroad to the Dark Ages. And then what's next? The Renaissance. We learned that in school. Great social change. New world order. Changing everything. Nothing included the Hebrew. Then you have the Age of Enlightenment. The intellectual philosophical movement. Isn't that a laugh? That's the funniest joke. Bunch of philosophizing and you're the intellect. Sans Yahweh. That's a nice little old English word for you. Sans means without. Without Yahweh. So all this enlightenment and intellectualizing Without the knowledge, remember, the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge. That means we are living in the world of this time with no knowledge of who you are. The only ones who really had the knowledge was the Erev Rav. And this is why this ministry gets attacked so much. Because I do not get on this mic and attack the Jews. Because that shows, first of all, no knowledge of who the real authority and power is. It shows unimaginative. It's easy to attack a white man. It's easy to attack a Jew man. It's easy. But if you do real research, you know that they are just as much a victim as you are. Now, they're benefiting. Yes, they are benefiting from the manipulation that's going on. But they cannot stop that. They cannot change that. The Erev Rav, because I use that word. Ever since I used that word, I've been getting attacked at my office. I've been getting attacked on the internet. Currently, right now, the ones supposed to be editing my videos, their whole internet for the whole city is down. Ever since I've been telling the truth about who's really running stuff, the Erev Rav, I've put that out there, which y'all haven't heard until you heard it from here. That's when I've been getting attacked. And I'm going to keep on saying it because they can't stop jack. They can't stop nothing. I fear no one. So we find that during this times of the Dark Ages, the Renaissance, the Age of Enlightenment, whole peoples have been moved. Whole nations have been changed. The ones you think are Egyptians, they're not the Egyptians. They're not the Egyptians. The Greeks, those aren't the Greeks. The Erev Rav had whole nations moved. They attacked every brown man. You think our history is bad? Look at the Australians, the original peoples of Australia. Oh, it makes you want to cry what they did to the Australians. The whole Western world we know about. But they started it in so-called Africa, and then Australia, and then to the Western world. And they changed the maps. They changed the languages. They went into everybody's nations and told them who they were. So you can call the Australians Aborigines. These original. And everywhere, and even in Antarctica, the Inuit. Even in the Far East, everywhere they go to, they renamed the peoples. They gave them their name. Can you imagine somebody coming to your house and saying, this changed your name? And you got to go call yourself by what they call you. So they do this to change history, his story. So it's difficult to get your story because you got to filter through his story. Because all the words are different. All the names are changed. As a matter of fact, the way they identify people was changed. Because then you have Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, who reclassified all the peoples by color. Now, can you do something more stupid than that? And then later on, you got Carlos Linnaeus, who supported that and made it even spread it even further. Classifying people by colors. Open your book and find one scripture where Yahweh identified peoples by the melanin content of their skin. You ain't gonna find one. So enough to obfuscate truth and to distract us and have us fight one another based on that, you're gonna have the devil's seed from Germany and Italy classifying peoples by color, by so-called color. Now, I'm the one that showed you how we have plenty of so-called white people throughout the history of Israel, beginning with Noah. And you got Lot. And you got Yusuf, who begat Ephraim. If you saw Yusuf today, you would thought he was a white man. Remember, our genes can make every nation on the earth. Our genes only. The only time, there's no such thing as a Japanese albino, or Korean albino, or Russian albino. Albinism only comes from melanin-rich peoples. You have to be a so-called black man to make an albino. In that way, we can make every nation. No other groups of peoples can have albinism. Nowhere. That's common science. Look it up. Albinism comes from us. And I showed you that in the Torah. In that way, we make all the nations, all the peoples, all the so-called races. So what they do is they use color to distract us. They use color to have us fighting against the wrong people, distract us from what they're doing, starting all these wars, starting all these pandemics, all these pandemics, all is seed versus seed. The Bible history is your history. How did we get to this garbage we have now? It takes Ruach HaKodesh to understand this word. It starts off with the Torah. Yahweh spoke through Moshe to give us the Torah. Moshe was the oracle. Yahweh's actual vibes, his voice went through the body of Moshe. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy. Moshe was speaking. Moshe's body was used as the oracle. It wasn't until the book of Deuteronomy when Moshe wrote that book as a prophet. Deuteronomy was not written as the oracle. It was written as the prophet. I told you that. And that's why you see some differences when he does the Ten Commandments, and you see differences in the curses. The curses in Leviticus 26 are different than the curses in Deuteronomy 28. They're different. And the Ten Commandments are different when we do it in Deuteronomy, because Moshe is given it. So, you have the Torah, then you have the Septuagint, which is the Torah translated through Greek. Then you have the Vulgate, which is the Septuagint translated through Latin. But then you have a whole litany of Bibles after that. The Cloverdale Bible, the Matthew Bible, the Zurich Bible, the Tyndale Bible. Martin Luther, that was from Germany. He did just the New Testament. That one really was earth-shattering, literally earth-shattering. Then you have the Great Bible, the Geneva Bible, the Bishop's Bible, the Douay-Rheims Bible. All this until you finally get to your beloved KJV, which in itself, the authorized version, changed 6 times. The official version changed 6 times. And then, it wasn't until the 6th version, 1769, that you got your Jesus Christ in there. And even then, it was Jesus. So it wasn't until around 1800 that you could go to a church and see somebody stand on a pulpit calling on Jesus. That's how new this thing is. That's how beastly this is. The Hebrew face is totally unrecognizable from its originality to today. And and here's the thing. Do not get distracted by what the Erev Rav is putting out there. Because your white neighbor or co-worker or your Jewish boss, none of them no need hate them, because they can't fix this. They can't change this. You cannot crack an egg and put the yolk back in. You cannot pickle a cucumber and make it back to a cucumber. They cannot do anything about it. They're puppeteered as well. Now, to be honest, and to be fair, they are benefiting from being puppeteered over you. But they didn't make the strings. The Erev Rav make the strings, and they use them to distract you from him, who is trying to get in the kingdom through you, because he's the only one who knows who you are. You cannot blame a little 12-year-old Jewish boy for not believing he's the one in the book. How can you blame him? His father taught him that. And when he leaves his home, the world tells him he's the chosen one. The world tells him he is the chosen seed from the Bible. So how are you going to hate him? How are you going to hate them and his father was taught the same thing, and his father, and his father. So why are you going to jump on them? See, the thing about it is, but you know it's not true, but you don't hate him. What you need to do is to find out how he got to that position. I'm telling you how he got in that position. You rejected the Messiah. And you called him by another name. Original words gives you original truth. That's how you got there. So why are you going to hate him? See, when you teach your son right, when he walks out his door, the world doesn't support what you taught him inside your house. That's the difference. The world does support the little Jew boy. It supports what he learns in his house. The world supports what he learned in his house. When he turns on his TV, the world supports what he sees and his father taught him. When he opens any book, the book supports what his parents taught him. But yours don't. You cannot read. No, the TV show is going to tell you that you are the true people of the book. It's not. The world does not back up because it's the devil's world. It's his world. And we're going to tell you how you're going to get it back. Only Yahweh can do it. He's the one that scattered you, and he's the only one that can bring you back. And he started it with that damnable letter J that came from Italy, that was founded by Zeno, who's of the seed of Esau. And we know what Yahweh said about Esau. He hates Esau. The demon seed comes from the water, and Esau mixed with everything. He mixed with man, beasts, and giants, and other men. Right there in Genesis 36. So, do not sheath your sword against your white brothers and against your Jewish brothers, and put a strong eye on your melon-rich brothers, because who your brother is and who your sister is he who receives the name of the one who created you all. That's who it is. Has nothing. The best things that ever happened to me happened by people that didn't look like me, and some of the worst things that happened by people that look like me. You do not have the ability to change this, and neither does anyone. I came here to tell you this, that this beast is the face of the grotesque Hebrew who has totally rejected Yahweh. Totally rejected him. And now Yahweh has rejected him, but Yahweh is going to clean us up. He's going to clean us up and bring us back. We have to Teshuvah. To this very day, we are still doing what we did when we threw our brother Yusuf in the hole. We're still fighting each other, still fighting our brothers. We haven't changed. We threw Yusuf in the hole. Then he gets rescued by his Islamic brothers. Thank Yahweh for them. Our Islamic brothers saved him and sent him to Egypt. By the way, it was our Islamic brothers that found Yahweh. They're the ones that followed the star to find the baby Yahweh at 2 years old. It wasn't us. We were too busy living our best life, hating the Romans, doing the same thing we're doing now. Hating the Romans, hating out Esau leaders. In the meantime, Yahweh was born, and we don't even know it. You know who knew it? Your Ishmael brothers. That's who knew it. They're the ones who followed the star and said, "Hey, what's up? Herod, where's the Messiah?" They were studying Daniel. They studied Daniel. You were too busy hating the Romans, and you're doing it to this day. Hating the wrong people. In the meantime, the Messiah is coming, and you ain't ready. This beast had the iron teeth, just like Nebuchadnezzar with the iron legs, to destroy everything. This is the Catholic and Christian Church. I'm still laying down the proof of this. You had 200 years of crusades. Who was the crusades against? Christians against Islam. 200 years. And so they destroyed each other back and forth, and then the Christians so-called get the Western world and gave them the East. But you had about 9 million people dying over these 200 years. 9 million souls. Then, since the resurrection, really, you have over 700 million souls killed in the name of the Lord God Jesus Christ. Fighting for beliefs and thoughts and ideologies. Not fighting for land, not fighting, well, actually they fight for land and gold too, but in the name of God Christ. And you had 350 years of Spanish Inquisition. How many people millions of people were killed through that? Look at the history you can find in your regular books over your 2 thumbs. Thumb, which rhymes with dumb. Use your 2 thumbs and Google the history of the religious wars. Review how Christianity got spread throughout the world. Christianity did not come across the water with love. It came across the water with a sword and germs from their mouths and blood. Even if you don't know jack about the Bible, you know the Christian history was not spread by love. The only blood shed for Yahweh was the bloody ear of the Roman soldier. And even that was healed. Peter took out his sword, cut off the ear of the Roman soldier who was getting ready to take his Yahweh. Yahweh stopped him, picked up the ear, and healed the Roman's ear. There is 0 people on the history of the world that was killed to make somebody believe in Yahweh. People have been killed. Children, mothers had to force themselves to believe in Christianity or they would keep their children under the water and drown them. They say they'd take them, then they brought them up for baptism. Jesus Christ was forced on the world in blood and hate and fear. No one said, hey, just lovingly receive him. It was out of hatred. It was out of an iron fist, the iron teeth of the beast, like the iron legs of Nebuchadnezzar. Colonialism. Who spread colonialism? The Portuguese, the Italians, the English, the French, the Germans, all Christian nations. Christian nations, Judeo-Christian ideology. The Catholic and Christian faith is the iron teeth. They are the beast. Your history is bloody since day one. Because I'm tired of hearing Christians say, well, that was the bad Christian. Show me when there was a good Christian. From the beginning. Because in 325 AD, they went on an iconoclastic riot and burned down every damned thing and every blessed thing. From day one. And why did Rome accept Christianity as its religion? Because the Christian religion is the harlot. What does harlot mean? You sleep with more than one person. So she slept with all the Roman gods. She received them. She received the calendar. She received the holy days. She received their gods. So Rome received her. And you're going to point the finger at someone else. It's you. It's the Catholic Christian faith. My time's running out. I'm not going to have time to read all of this. But the 3 horns are the divisions of Levi. And that's not going to end. You got the single horn. Believe it or not, your false prophet is going to be a brother. A Jewish brother. That's why y'all going to fall and get fooled. Because you're going to be hating the white man so much, you're going to be fooled when a brother comes up there and then he's going to have a yarmulke on. So we're going to, now you all cut up, and I hope you receive it, that you conquered the world with a sword and the germs from your mouth. 96 million originals died just from germs. Just from the germs from your mouth. Now we're down from the germs from the book you done messed up. Next week, we're going to clean it. We're going to show you how you're redeemed. All right? Until then, Yehoshua week with here. Yahweh for Christians. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be on you.